Hey guys, my name is Marta, welcome to my channel and welcome to my April wrap-up. In April I read way more than I did in March. I haven't counted the number of books I read, but it is a pretty big amount. And first I'm going to start with the ones that I do not own physically, because if I don't talk about them first, I always forget that I have read them. So the first one was Horror Store. This is supposed to be a horror story that takes place in this shop that resembles an IKEA. The book's format is like an IKEA catalog, and it was quite a fun horror story. It wasn't scary at all, honestly. I have heard that some people get creeped by it, so I was expecting more horror from it, but in my opinion it was more like a scary movie because it wasn't scary, but more like a funny, scary thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't scary to me. It was fun, it was a nice read. I am glad I do not own it because I don't think I will ever read it, but it was fun and I gave it 3 stars. Next book I read was Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. This is a book by an Asian author. I think it's Japanese, but I am not completely sure. And it talks about loss and depression, and it also features a transsexual character. And it was a nice read. I was honestly expecting way more from it because I had heard very amazing things. I had heard that it was very hard-hitting and that lots of people really like it, but to me it was great. It wasn't a nice read. I'm glad I read it, but I ended up giving it 3 stars as well. And the last book I read was also a 3-star read, and it was again The Hen Who Dreamed He Could Fly. And it is another book by an Asian author, and it follows this hen who is very old and can't lay eggs anymore. One day he finds these eggs and he raises it as if he was her son, and it turns out to be a duck egg. It talks about family and growing old and all that stuff. It was a cute story. I really enjoyed it, but again I am glad I do not own it physically because I don't think I will ever read it. The discussion was nice, but sometimes it was a bit boring to me. I don't know how to explain it, but some scenes were boring and I even thought about DNFing it at some points because I didn't feel like picking it back up every time I put it down. But yeah, overall 3 stars, it was nice. And now I'm going to get to the books I do own physically, and the first one was a book whose title I have no idea what is like in English, but in Spanish it is La Cripta de los Capuchinos by Josep Roth. I had to read this for my history class and it was nice. I have no idea what the title of this is in English. If I remember to do so, I will look it up and I will put it down here, but I can't promise anything. And yeah, this book follows our main character, Franz Ferdinand Trotta, and from the Austrian Belle Epoque to the Nazi invasion of Austria. A nice read overall. It has a great historical analysis that I am having fun doing an essay on, and yeah, I annotated a lot for class, so nothing to say about that. And it explores many different themes like war and identity and nations and Austro-Hungarian Empire and all that jazz. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice to read for uni. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed our main character. He was funny at some points, and that was great to read about. And I also really enjoyed the ending because it makes you think a lot about what's happening next in history and about all the metaphors in this book. And yeah, overall a nice read, and I think I gave it 4 stars. Next I have another university read because honestly I think this month was full of those, and it is Logan by Lagui Tremblay. This is a French book by a Canadian author, I think, and it explores race and war and sacrificing oneself for the others, and we follow the character Ahmed, who has a twin named Aziz, and one day this man comes to their house after their grandparents' death and tells their parents that they have to sacrifice one of his kids for the sake of their country because they live in Africa and there is a war, and one of them has to sacrifice themselves, and the story goes from there. And I had a big problem while reading this, and it was the writing style, because I absolutely hated it. I hated there weren't any details about how our main characters look like, because I couldn't picture them. I couldn't picture these little kids in any moment, because they weren't described at all. And also it was basically all dialogues, and I do love me a good dialogue, but when you tell me a story all in dialogues, I expect more from it. I expect more description, I expect more atmosphere. I do not like to read novels that aren't descriptive, because I can't picture them in my head, and I hate that. So yeah, I ended up giving this 3 stars. I repeat myself, but it would have been way more emotional and hard-hitting if it were better written, because I don't think I will ever read anything else from this author, because I hate his writing style. Next, I read a book for my university book club, and it was El Plat Tendre by Colette. It's a French book that I read translated to Catalan, and I can't remember the English title. Again, I will put it down here if I remember to do so. And in this book we follow 2 characters, Pinka and Philippe, who get together every summer, and they've been friends since they were kids, and now they are at this weird age where they are growing up and they are starting to realize that they have feelings for each other, and we see them struggle through their romance and discovering what they feel. And the boy Philippe, he starts to feel things for this other woman that appears in this town, and who is way older than him, but he is weirdly fascinated by her, and he keeps going to see her. And yeah, this book was nice. I really enjoyed it. It had really good descriptions, and I adore that, because as I just said, I do love me a good description, and it was very sweet overall. It was very summery, and it made me want to go out and read, but I sadly read it when it was raining in here, so I couldn't do that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed how this was sort of a coming-of-age story, and I also really enjoyed seeing these 2 characters, like seeing that they love each other. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars, and I would recommend it if you want a cute short read that can be read in one sitting. We have another book for class, and it is La Vie de Bonsoir by Romain Gary, a French book. If I remember, I will put the English translations to all the books I read down here, because I haven't read many things that weren't originally written in English this month. But yeah, this book follows this kid whose name is Momo, and he is the son of a prostitute, and he lives in this building where this woman named Madame Rosa lives with these kids that are all sons of prostitutes, and he takes care of them all. And we see this kid growing up in this place, and eventually it comes to an age where Madame Rosa can no longer take care of all of them, because she is way too old. And we explore themes like death and family, because in one point of this book his real father comes to visit him. This book explores themes like that, themes like family, like death, like growing up, and also the effects of World War II, because this book takes place a few years afterwards, and we see how Madame Rosa, who was a Jew and who was captured at a concentration camp during war, is really scared of the Nazis coming back and take her and to take all the kids that are living with her. And yeah, it was a really nice read, way better than Logan Higai, because that one wasn't good, but this one was way better, way more descriptive, way more detailed, and I enjoyed it way more. So yeah, I think I gave it 3.5 stars, because it wasn't the best thing ever, but it was great, and I do recommend this one. And the last book for class I read this month was Indiana by George Sand, a book that made me fall in love with an author, because from now on I declare myself a George Sand stan, because he wasn't only an amazing figure, because all of the things he did during her life. If you don't know anything about her, please Google her, because she was amazing. But also her writing style is impeccable. In this book, which was her first novel, we follow Indiana, who is a mixed race woman who is married to this man who is way older than her and who doesn't really care about her. So he isn't in love with him, and we see her fall in love with other people outside that marriage, and he is torn between these two other men. One who is a rich man that he meets in a party and whose name I have now forgotten. I think he was Raymond. And the other one who is her cousin and who she has lived with since forever, and we see her fall in love with these two men and being inside this sort of a love triangle that isn't really a love triangle because there are 4 people, but yeah, it was a very nice read. It discusses great feminist themes as well as race related themes. It was very interesting and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I am looking forward to read more from George Sand in the future, and hopefully this summer, because I have already bought more books by her that I am super excited to get to. And the last 2 books that I read were read for pleasure, and the first one was Historia de una maestra by Josefina Aldecoa. This book hasn't been translated to English, so it is something like History of a Teacher. Again, it hasn't been officially translated, so you can't read it unless you know Spanish. And I read this one for my university book club, and in this one we follow Gabriela, a teacher during the Spanish Second Republic to the beginning of the Spanish Civil War, and we see her putting all her life and efforts in her work. And this book is amazing. It is very well written. It has a lot of quotes. I have dug in a lot of pages that I have to annotate because I have a lot to say about it during my university book club meeting, but overall it was amazing. It is a book that makes you think a lot about teachers and about their passion and about why they do what they do, and also it is a book that makes you think a lot about how people lived during this historical period. And yeah, it is especially in rural areas, because a big part of this book is dedicated to our main character teaching these poor kids how to read, how to write, and many other things about the world. And it is very amazing. It really makes you think about a lot of things. And yeah, I would recommend it if you speak Spanish, because it is a mind-blowing read. And when I marked it as read on Goodreads, I realized that it was part of a trilogy, so I might continue on reading it in the future. In March, I finished The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I read it in French, as you can see, and I annotated this brick. Well, I didn't really annotate it, but I did stick it up some pages. This book, I'm pretty sure you know what it's about, but if you don't know, we follow Edmond Dantes, who goes to prison because people who were supposed to be his friends, him look like he is part of this complot, Napoleonic complot, and then 14 years after, he gets out and he starts avenging his friends because of what they did, and we follow his vengeance. It is a good read. I really enjoyed it. I have to confess that some parts were a bit boring, especially in the middle, but overall it was great. It was fast-paced. It read like a modern novel for it to be over 200 years old, I think. I don't even know when this was written. I might have made a big mistake, but it is probably almost 200 years old. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of things to say about a lot of things because this is a huge book, so there are a lot of discussions being treated in this novel, but overall it talks a lot about vengeance and about redeeming oneself, and it was nice. I really enjoyed it. I don't think I will reread it anytime in the near future because it is a brick and it isn't my favorite thing ever. I have to say that I think I enjoy what I read from his son more than I did The Count of Monte Cristo, so I enjoyed The Lady of the Camellias more than this one. But that is a personal thing. I think way more people prefer this to his son's works, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and I am looking forward to now say that I have read this book in French, because I did read it in French, and it was a big accomplishment for me. And yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. It was nice and I do recommend it if you are interested in it. So that was all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and comment down below what you read in the month of April. And if you have read any of these books, don't forget to tell me what you think about them also down there. And I hope your day is going amazing, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, and I hope your day is going amazing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!